Greetings, hello, and welcome to A Closer Look. I'm Rob Taylor, Executive Director of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us. A little bit about the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. We are a member organization of approximately 300 members, mostly businesses, but we also include nonprofits and a few municipalities. And I'm actually very pleased to be joined by my guest today, who is representing our largest municipality and really our home, the city of Lebanon. I'd like to welcome our guest, the new city manager of Lebanon, Mr. Shaun Mulholland. Shaun, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, so new job, been on the job about 2 months, if I'm not mistaken?
Almost 90 days, yes.
Almost 90 days, okay. Well, welcome to Lebanon. We're very thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
I participated a little bit in the process to search for you and get you in here, and I think everybody in Lebanon, I speak on behalf of everybody, is going to welcome you and hopefully have open arms for you, and so welcome aboard. I'd like to start out our discussion today with a little bit about maybe your qualifications, I guess, if you will. Tell us about where you come from. You come from southern part of the state?
I do. Actually, I grew up in the town of Raymond, and I've worked for the town of Allenstown for the last 24 years prior to coming here. I was the town administrator there, and prior to that, I was the chief of police in that community.
Neat. And you also have a military background as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, I've served 23 years in the military, yes.
In the New Hampshire Guard, is it?
No, actually Army Reserves and Rhode Island National Guard.
Okay. Neat. So, police chief, and you started as a patrol officer as well?
Yes, yes.
And how long were you chief for?
About 7 years.
About 7 years. And of course you transitioned from being a chief of police into a town administrator, so that's obviously, it's kind of neat that you've worn many different hats in municipal government. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the police department. I'd like to hear some stories about police.
Well, I came in at a time when law enforcement was going through a major change, and technology was a major component of that. From the old types of radio systems that we had to computers were just really starting to make an impact in law enforcement and how we use them as a database system, and basically use that artificial intelligence for needs other than a typical filing cabinet or a typical typewriter, which is what the earlier uses of computers were in law enforcement, and started to delve into the records management systems and mobile data terminals, and putting that technology out in the street, keeping officers out on the road, allowing for greater efficiencies there. And then when I moved into town hall, that transferred into that. Basically, the Board of Selectmen there said, we want you to do what you do with the police department. We want you to do that here in the town hall and make it more efficient. And we went through an entire process of creating efficiencies in town hall in the time period I was there.
Well, tell us a little bit about, for those that are not familiar with the way that municipal government works, tell us about the difference between a town administrator versus a town manager or a city manager like you are here in Lebanon.
Yeah, a town administrator basically is the chief administrative officer of a town. The Board of Selectmen is the governing body, and they have the authority to hire and fire and make the decisions in terms of personnel management. And the town administrator, again, is the chief administrative officer and provides guidance, technical, professional guidance to the Board of Selectmen. We have a case of a town manager. The town manager actually creates the budget and is the hiring and firing authority. And of course, when you have a city manager, the city manager is the governing body for the city, creates the budget, does the hiring and firing of personnel, and basically runs the city, whereas the city council provides the policy for the city. Okay.
And now in Lebanon, you have 9 councilors, if I'm not mistaken?
That's correct, yes.
And there is a mayor, but mayor is much more of a run the meeting and is a city figurehead. Is that how it works in the form of government that you have?
Yeah, I just think that terminology kind of downplays the value of the mayor, but the city manager runs the administrative organs of the city, runs the day-to-day affairs of the city, and the mayor is the figurehead of the city and obviously oversees the council, is the chairperson of the council, and really is the point person for the city, is the visible head of the city, the mayor. I would suggest a very powerful position nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the staff total for the city of Lebanon?
184 personnel altogether.
184, and that would encompass police and fire,
Public Works, Parks and Recreation, all the administrative functions, airport personnel, So a wide range of personnel in different departments across the
city
city.
clerk.
Yep.
Yep. And you have, in your office, the city manager's office, you have an assistant city manager.
Yes, I have a
and
deputy city
administrative.
manager and executive assistant, and then there's also the person in charge of energy and facilities. That position we just added this year.
Oh yes, I was going to bring that up. Tell us about the new position. That's actually in your department then, the city manager's office. Tad, I've met. You can tell the folks about Tad.
Yeah, the city took a very proactive approach, which some other communities have done, although very few in this state. And they've allowed for someone who can focus on dealing with the energy issues in the city and meeting our sustainability goals and trying to be as efficient as we can on the energy front. And that's the main focus of what TAD's responsibilities are. And we've got a lot of challenges, a lot of things that we're looking at, and we now have somebody who can work very hard to achieve those goals and get those things done.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, the city of Lebanon is very unique in that you do have, I mean, for being a rather small city in terms of the state of New Hampshire, you have an airport, you have a landfill, you have a lot of facilities that perhaps other communities that are even maybe larger don't have to manage. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, I know that the airport has been one thing that people talk a lot about for Lebanon, and of course the landfill is the two major parts of your city, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, they do. They take up there's a major staffing requirement for all of those functions to make them work efficiently on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And yeah, for a community of 13,500, it takes a large staff to make the trains run on time, shall we say?
Yeah. So I was going to sort of start out this conversation talking about what as you really come on board and gotten used to your job and gotten acclimated. What do you think the strengths of Lebanon are, the city of Lebanon?
Oh, there are many strengths. I've got a really strong staff, very good people I'm working with. It's now making that a stronger team is the major goal now. The community that you have a very healthy economy. With a very strong private sector. That health sector part of your economy is very large, obviously, with the Dartmouth-Hitchcock. Certainly have a very strong retail district that covers this entire region. It's the hub of that retail activity. And we have some very healthy downtown areas that have the potential for even more economic development and a greater engine, what I refer to as an economic engine for both West Lebanon as well as city proper, the downtown area.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, sort of following that logic, I'm sort of, I think everybody that lives in Lebanon and are residents here can tell you a lot about the strengths, but what do you think some of our challenges are? What do you think some of the biggest goals for you maybe going forward, and some of the biggest hurdles we've got to jump over in the next 10 or 15 years here?
I would refer to the housing issue as basically a crisis situation. We need housing at all different types of economic levels. At the higher end, certainly the middle income range, elderly housing, and the lower income range. It's very difficult for elderly persons to maintain their homes with the cost being what they are. Mm-hmm. It's also very difficult for young families to be able to get into the housing market due to the costs that are there. And the folks at the very bottom of the economic scale, they're struggling just to keep a roof over their head. So we have all those issues, and on top of that, we've got this very large economy that's growing larger, and there just aren't enough housing units to meet the needs. The last estimate, there were 1,500 units short of housing in the Upper Valley. We're reassessing that right now, but the new housing units that are coming online, there just aren't enough of them to meet that demand, which is requiring people to commute great distances to get here to work, which has an impact on our industries up here as well. If they can't get workers up here, they are going to be forced to move out. Mm-hmm. So we've got to meet that need. We need to be able to create the workforce that they need to keep their industries thriving.
Yep. It's really the double-edged sword, or the blessing and the curse, that Lebanon has really historic low unemployment, which is great for our workers and means that most everybody that wants a job can find a job. But the consequence is, for our businesses, it's really hard to find enough help to staff the openings that different businesses have. So yeah, I like where you're going with that. The housing thing is certainly a big part of that workforce. I mean, one of the things we talk a lot about in the chamber is the way we've sort of lost a lot of our young people have moved away. Talk about that a little bit. What are some of the things you think that the city of Lebanon maybe, I know the schools are going to be very important players in that, but what can we do to try to retain some of our young people here?
We've got to be able to create that focus to allow that brain trust to stay here. Things like that you see in the city of Boston, for instance, and places like Portsmouth, places like Seattle and San Francisco, they create that vibrant social scene as well that younger people want to be part of. And we need to work on that here. That's one of the weaknesses that we have, but I think we have the ability to do that. And when I look at Lebanon, it's not just Lebanon. We also look at White River Junction, what goes on over here, as well as what happens in Hanover. Those things all feed part of that, as part of that region. It's not, one city doesn't exist all in itself. It's all the neighboring communities that are around it. So we need to be able to create that throughout this Upper Valley area to keep people here. That vibrancy, that places to go, social places to go. That are appropriate, with places like Lucky's that just opened up not too long ago in the downtown area. That's a hub there. A lot of folks go there. It's very busy all the time. People want that place to socialize with others. So we need to create more of those in the downtown area, and we're working on that.
Yeah, yeah. We talk a lot about it in the chamber world. There's the sort of silos. There's so many different silos, and you could say the communities themselves are silos. And that one of the challenges that the chamber is trying to participate in is helping people sort of get out of those silos and work together. And I know that you and I are actually having a meeting pretty soon with a bunch of other town managers, town administrators, and city managers, which I think is good stuff to sort of continue that work to sort of get everybody out of their sort of little fiefdoms and get everybody sort of thinking a little bit more broadly, because we do have some big challenges. I think the housing thing that you were just talking about is probably chief among them, but workforce goes hand in hand with that. You know, the job skills and so forth, I think, are really important. So getting back to, so what are some of your major initiatives that you want to put forth as you sort of get the lay of the land now? Like, as you've got some under your belt, what are you looking at down the road that you think will really help bring Lebanon forward?
There are some things that are on the large scale and some things that are on the internal, what I would call smaller scale. We're using Lean to create efficiencies. It's a process to review the various processes within the city and make them more efficient. That's going to be a major initiative that's already started, and we'll be moving forward on that. Going paperless. Our system is very heavily focused on paper, and that is just the technology of the past. There's far more efficient ways to do that provides better customer service, reduced cost, and the ability to store things on a drive instead of in a filing cabinet. My plan is to push that by 2020. By the middle of 2020, I expect the city to be mostly paperless, which will allow also greater transparency, access to documents by the public. Right now, they have to come in and ask for those. In the future, the objective is to reduce the amount of that and have those documents available for people on the drive. And that also reduces staff time, reduces our cost as well. So that's a major initiative internally that I have focused on. Also, the permitting process. A lot of folks have said it's very difficult to work through that. Businesses have said that as well. The goal is to make that far more customer friendly, far faster, and through a comprehensive process. So if you apply for a permit or a license in the city of Lebanon, I want you to be able to go to one place and be able to go through that. And we're in the process right now of laying out what's called Municity 5. It's a software program that we're using right now that by July 1st, part of it will be up and running. So the city's already started that long before I even came here. And you know, we're going to continue to push that in an even greater direction than what it was before.
I know you had said something about virtual signatures or digital signatures, being able to sort of streamline permitting, like you were talking about. I was really interested about that, and you were also maybe thinking about throwing it out to businesses that wanted to participate in that. Tell us a little bit about digital signatures.
We actually developed a consortium with a couple of other towns to aggregate the price and negotiate a better price for electronic signatures. And we have, as of 2 weeks ago, we started field testing that throughout the city, electronic signatures. And the plan is by the third quarter of 2019, we'll have a electronic records management system up and running, and digital signatures will be the cornerstone piece of that. We found ourselves simply, we would take a document, we would print it, we would sign it, scan it, and then throw it in the trash. It's just a complete waste of resources to do it that way. Now we can sign a document electronically and have it CC to multiple people where it needs to go. And when we have our records management system, it'll end up at its end place where it's by automatic paths that are created in the workflow. And we'll also have smart forms as well. And again, that's going to be up and running here by the third quarter of 2019. So we're pushing that rather quickly. I did that in the community I was in before, so I know how to do this. I know it works, and we're going to do it faster here than when I did it in the community I was before.
It sounds like efficiency gains.
Yes.
And while we're on the subject, great segue here. While we're on the subject of efficiency, I know that the city with the new guy, Tad Montgomery, is really pushing forward with a very active energy group, LEAC, to do some work at the Lebanon landfill. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the ideas that are being put forth at the Lebanon landfill?
Yes, we have the landfill gas to energy project. The objective is to use the methane that's created from the process of trash underneath the landfill degrading, to use that methane gas to produce over a megawatt of electricity, which will be more than what is necessary to power all of the buildings in the city. So we're moving forward at a pretty good pace to get that done. So that should be online here within the next year.
And there's also a discussion about some solar installation, either at the landfill or at the airport. Talk a little bit about
Yeah, we're exploring the potential of using solar at the airport and producing a large quantity of solar there, as well as on potentially on City Hall and our other municipal buildings, wastewater treatment plant, water treatment plant, to produce additional electricity that could be sold back to the grid.
Yeah, it certainly seems like here in the Upper Valley, we're really sort of taking a leadership role with regard to the renewable energy sources and energy conservation. There's a huge project with Vital Communities to make buildings more efficient and doing energy audits. So I encourage it. I mean, if the city continues to take that path, I think it's just gonna be rewards for the city and for its residents. So I think that's very exciting. And the chamber would love to bring businesses along too, because I think if we work together, there's been some discussions about energy aggregation, purchasing, that kind of stuff, where the city can kind of spearhead some of this work, but then businesses can take advantage of maybe some savings through playing some different games, so to speak, with the buying and purchasing of power. If you buy power when it's most needed, it's more expensive than if you buy power when it's less needed. So very exciting, and I definitely I encourage you, and I look forward to working with you more on the energy efficiency improvements. Getting back to economic development, I know that there's a few places in town. There's the revitalization plan for revisioning downtown Lebanon. There's a few industrial areas that are sort of ripe for development and build out. Talk a little bit about some of the opportunities maybe that are popping up around Lebanon.
I see two major focus areas. One is the traditional downtown area around the central business district, and also West Lebanon. Those are two key areas that we're going to be focusing on in the next several years here. We're in the process of developing a TIF district in the downtown area, and basically what that would allow is any new development within that TIF district, the tax revenue generated for that would be used for the amenities in that downtown area. We're also looking at creating an arts district in there as well. We have an arts task force that's been created by the mayor that will allow us to bring those folks together that are in the arts area and help us work to develop that in that central business district area there. There's major money in terms of the arts, in terms of adding to the economy, and this has been demonstrated in other communities across the country. So we expect to replicate some of that here. So I see what you see in the central business district now around Colburn Park. I see it to be changing in the future. What exactly that will look like will depend upon what the residents want to see. So I really can't answer for that, but I know there's a lot of excitement there, a lot of potential there. And I think you're going to see a healthier downtown by the time we're done all of that. Yeah, some major improvements to maybe traffic flow are in the works. Yes.
Obviously, there's some big projects happening in Lebanon with regard to Mechanic Street and Mascoma Street. I'm sure our viewers would love to hear a little update from you on what's going to be happening there. You know, we're hoping it's spring here in the area. It doesn't seem like it has wanted to show up yet, but so literally happening now. Tell us about those projects.
Well, right now we have the CSO project, which has been going on for several years, and now it's work is being done on Mascoma Street as well as Mechanic Street.
Yep.
And that
what is CSO? Tell.
The combined sewer overflows. Older cities have their stormwater and their sewers are combined into one pipe, is the best way to explain that. When there's low flow times, it's not raining out, then the lower parts of that pipe is where the sanitary sewer goes that comes from flushing toilets and things like that. And then when you have a heavy rain event, it goes into the upper part of that pipe and then that flows into the river. The excess amount flows into the river. Those are illegal. They don't allow them anymore, and a lot of the cities, a lot of them in the 1970s took advantage of federal and state funds and they separated those. The city of Lebanon did not do that, and now it's forced to do that on its own, and it has to pay for the entire amount, whereas before 90% of it was paid for by the federal government.
And it's been a significant investment that Lebanon has made.
Huge investment. We're looking at a $71 million investment by the time we're done to separate those. So that's going on right now.
On Mechanic Street and Mascoma?
Yes, on Mascoma. We also have the Mechanic Street Bridge was scheduled for reconstruction in the spring, and that's going to be delayed until we're going out to bid in the fall now because there's a shortage of structural steel. So that work probably will not be done until into the winter time.
And where's that bridge?
Mechanic Street.
Right, specifically though on Mechanic
Right by the
Street.
Downtown area there.
Oh, it's right there in the middle of everything. Goes over the Mascoma River.
It does.
Sort of near where Whitman's building is, perhaps. Right in that general vicinity,
near Napa there, the Napa building, yes. So that bridge, that's being delayed, unfortunately. But the traffic circle will be constructed right there at Mascoma Street, where the Napa building is as well. And that work is right now scheduled to occur in 2020, 2021, probably 2021 before that will happen. And that'll create a traffic circle there to deal with that very confusing junction of roadways there, and as well as the Mascoma Trail.
Yes, the Greenway, the Mascoma River Greenway is one of the really exciting things happening in Lebanon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that work, a lot of that work has been done. There is more work to be done, and there are sections that have not been paved yet down towards the Ford facility.
Miracle Mile?
Yeah, the Miracle Mile down that area down there.
So it's the redevelopment of what used to be the Railbed.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's now a pedestrian way.
Yeah, it's paved. Good sections of it are paved, and it's. In fact, I was out there this weekend enjoying it. It's a very nice amenity to add to the city. Which will add to the other things that we're again talking about doing the Arts District as well, and future development in that downtown area.
Yeah. One thing that sort of ties in with that I would love to sort of get your take on. There's this new Mascoma River Greenway, which is the old rail trail or the railroad from Lebanon to West Lebanon. And then, of course, there's the rail trail that exists from Lebanon to Concord or Boscawen, 56 miles. And sort of in between those is an old tunnel underneath the Mall of Lebanon. And right now, of course, that tunnel is completely blocked off, both underneath and above. Any thoughts on what's going to happen with that?
Well, there's a variety of options that the council will be looking at. Right now, we have an engineering firm that's further refining what the cost of those options would be. One of the options is to simply repair that tunnel, put some lighting in there, repaint it, potentially some artwork in there. That's one of the options. And some of the other options are to create a cantilevered walkway around the edge of the river. That would get you around that way, and then close off the tunnel and fill that area in. We're also looking at alternative routes, potentially through the mall for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. But they all have their detractors and their benefits, and we're reviewing all of those, but we'll be making a decision on that, I would expect, by the end of the year as to which course of action we're going to take there. And again, we also have to think about that in terms of what other development might occur in that area. So we're working with people that have interest in developing different portions of that area around that parking lot area down below.
Well, it seems to be a very exciting time in Lebanon. There's a lot of potential. I'm very excited as far as the chamber goes, and it's been fun to work with you so far. I would be remiss if I didn't ask for some of your favorites so far. I know you haven't had a chance to see the the city in its glory in the summertime. So far, though, in the winter, spring, what are some of your favorite things been about Lebanon so far?
Well, we're outdoor people, so we like to walk, and I live in the downtown area, so I walk to work every day, and I enjoy the sidewalk network that you have here, and for us, it's a great opportunity to do that. Again, I was out in the Mascoma Greenway this very weekend. So that's a big draw for us. We also like to cross-country ski, and of course the trail allows for that opportunity as well. So that's a big favorite of ours. And the different restaurants that you have here in the city, we've been doing the tour of all of those. And I like to stay in the city that I live in. So our plan is to patronize those over communities around us. But the people here are very friendly. The Southern Tier, it's a little bit different. You know, there's a different slightly different type of culture, whereas up here, folks are just a lot more friendly to deal with. When you walk down the sidewalk here, everybody says hello to you. That doesn't always happen in the southern tier of the state.
Yeah, another thing, if you stop for somebody in a crosswalk, they usually wave at you.
Yes, yeah, they don't, yes, and you don't get, they're less likely to run you over here, I think, than perhaps down in the southern area.
Yeah, last, before we go, very exciting trend here in Lebanon, in the Upper Valley, I would describe as the arts scene. And I know that the city is really taking a very proactive approach to arts. Of course, Lebanon has a rich history of art. Tell us a little bit about the, I guess, a new task force?
Yes, the mayor's created the task force. We already have, as you know, the performing arts that occur right in the downtown area. We also have the music center, and we have the Ava Art Gallery, all within sight distance of each other. So we already have that synergy occurring in that area. How can we build on that and expand that? And we're going to bring in the folks from the arts sector and help us do just that. They're the experts in this field, and we're going to take advantage of that. And the mayor's already, she put together the task force. It was her thought process. And we're looking forward to seeing how what fruit that's going to produce at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I see it as more of the secret sauce that the Upper Valley really has to offer, and I'm very excited about it. And I really appreciate your time today. Appreciate you coming down to see us. We'll keep the viewers updated, and I'd like to thank my guest, Shaun Mulholland, the new city manager for the City of Lebanon, for joining me. This has been a closer look on CATV. I'm Rob Taylor, Executive Director of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce in Lebanon, New Hampshire. For information about the Chamber, we invite you to visit our website, www.lebanonchamber.com, or you can call us at 603-448-1203 during the business hours during the week. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you for joining us.